Hello, it's the evening of May 1st, 2026, and I haven't done a garden walkthrough in 3 or 4 weeks. And we're supposed to get a freeze tonight, probably a hard frost, probably mid to upper 20s here, if not worse than that. The general forecast is for about 31, which here probably means 25 or something, or give or take a few. So anyway, I'm expecting that, which seems to happen every year pretty much at this site. I wanted to do a quick walkthrough and show kind of how things are looking here right now at the moment before everything freezes. And then before posting this, I'll probably do a second follow-up video in 3 or 5 days surveying the damage and taking a look at that and put them as one video. So my last video, the Nanking cherries were flowering, and then I went to Japan for 2.5 weeks, and I missed a lot of the flowering show of most of the fruit trees. Missed the peaches pretty much. I did see the apples. I caught the tail end of the pears. Gumi is kind of just finishing its flowering, which is what I was showing there a minute ago at the start. And what else? Pears are pretty much done flowering. Autumn olives have kind of just started in the last few days. Pawpaws are putting out a few little leaves here. It's not terrible, so if these get singed back, hopefully not the end of the world, although pawpaws already got frosted. A few days before I came back, it frosted also, and things had sort of tentatively started growing out. But things like this mulberry here, you know, these are budding out, and so that makes me a little nervous because mulberries are a little frost tender. Pawpaws are, persimmons are. And then, you know, if they get repeatedly stressed, that also invites things like ambrosia beetles. So anyway, this is a problem I seem to have almost every year at this site. So you can see the purple flowers over there, the purple and white, those are the lunaria, aka money plant. Those are kind of a weedy species here. And apologies, this is not the nicest time of day to walk around. I had to work all day, and so this is just when I could do it. And so I'm gonna go around and throw sheets over some things that are like my persimmon grafts and some things that are really make me nervous. I really don't want to lose maybe some grafted trees, but I can't do that for everything, so you know, it'll just be a handful of stuff. I don't have any tender annuals planted out or anything yet. I'm not that stupid. One thing that usually gets nuked pretty well are these ostrich ferns, and last year I did a similar video. You can see we've been harvesting a fair number of the fiddleheads. Now, when I looked at last year's video, I noticed that this apple tree here, this northernmost one, didn't have as many ostrich ferns as it has now. And this one over here had a lot more than it has now. So something shifted in the last year where a lot of these died or something. Could be related to the frost damage or some other factor I don't know about. But anyway, last year this was kind of a whole carpet of ostrich fern, and this year there's very few, so that's interesting. A little bit of a bummer. The stinging nettle is doing well. We've harvested a bunch of that already for eating several times, and I think my friend Sam came over to harvest some for drying. You can see the tail end of a few apple blossoms here, and the apple trees, yeah, a few days ago they were kind of lit up, but now they're pretty much done. I do see some blossoms up in the top of that one there. That's a graft of something. So what else do I want to show? The ostrich ferns are definitely something. Let me walk over here, see what else is tender. The Chinese tune tree, I don't think has really started leafing out yet. That's something that will get nuked in a frost. Hopefully it hasn't. It wasn't as of a day or two ago. Okay, hopefully it actually survived the winter. Not seeing any signs of life on it, so that's actually maybe good. Now this Taranoki, Japanese Angelica, these little things got frosted off. You can see in the one a week or so ago, and it's sort of tentatively regrowing a few things, although it's not really big enough to harvest and eat at this point. But those will get frosted again, so I may throw something over the top of this. And what else? I'm not going to go over and show you the pawpaws over there. I don't want to make this a long video. Just thinking of things that I noticed that definitely get nailed every year. Honeyberries are totally frost hardy, not worried about those. The nanny berries are kind of in full flower right now. And phenology wise, we are a week to 2 weeks ahead of some other years, which kind of surprises me because it was a bit of a slow start to the season. But every year is different, you know, the timing and the bunching of when things flower. This iris got some damage at some point recently. You wouldn't think irises would be that fragile. There's a lilac, late flowering lilac here. That'll probably get frosted. Those tend to. Have some asparagus here. I've pretty much picked all the asparagus that I saw coming out anywhere because I know that is something that gets melted in frost every time. So as we go over here, I don't want to walk through the whole place. Chestnut leaves are kind of just starting, so those are something that makes me a little nervous. Those are a bit tender. They haven't leafed out much, so I'm not too worried about it. This sea buckthorn, it's got some leaves. I'm not worried about that with frost. That's a cold hardy plant. And we will check the water table here. Water table's it's gone down a fair amount, a couple feet at least since my last video, which was admittedly 3 weeks ago. Still got some blooms on this apple here. These are a couple of grafts I did a long time ago. I had a dogwood that was in, a white dogwood that was in full flower back there a couple days ago. I don't really see those so much now. The cornelian cherries have finished their flowering quite a while back. So yeah, the chestnuts, they're just a few buds there. Looks like the black locust are not really starting yet. Those tend to get frosted. This chestnut's got a few little buds. So yeah, as I'm looking at the chestnut canopy, there's a few buds up there, and also the frost seems to be a bit dependent on elevation too, so it kind of depends at what height we're talking about. Sometimes the lower branches will get frosted, but then some upper branches won't. So there, chestnut, very few little buds. The timber chestnut here, this big one, that's maybe a little farther along than some other ones. So hopefully, now that tree is big enough that I'm not so worried about ambrosia beetles with that one. More mature trees don't seem to be as susceptible to those as the sort of young adolescent trees, like say the diameter of these two pecans here. Those are really a good target for ambrosia beetles with that chestnut there when they're 1-2 inch diameter. This persimmon here, it's a graft. Okay, we do have a little bit of bud opening there, so not too far along. I'm amazed and thrilled that that graft is still alive. That was a big question. Are we going to come through the winter unscathed? Because it was a kind of a test winter. It was colder than most. So interestingly, this wild black cherry here has not too much leaf canopy. That one, these two have more, and this one has more, and it has flowers that are kind of getting close to opening. So that, you know, in the same species you can have quite a variation sometimes. And I can smell the autumn olives back here. That apple is pretty much done blooming. A couple autumn olives lit up over there. What else? We're gonna go back to the persimmons and show those. Got some really nice growth on this gumi that I grafted to autumn olive maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And that's hopefully, you know, fingers crossed, going to bear some fruit this year. Now it's still got the remnants of a few flowers. Smell great. These smell so good. So much better than autumn olive flowers. So we're gonna make our way back real quick here to the persimmon patch. And here too, another chestnut. I think that's a graft and just got a little bit of bud showing. So if this is a hard frost and if it's the last frost of the season, which there's no guarantee of that either, you know, we still have a month of frost potential here at this site, unfortunately. Then they'll probably recover okay. But if we get several more frosts, you know, that can really set some things back and kill them off over time, just with sort of cumulative damage. So yeah, we've got some spent asparagus here, last year's stalks. I've been kind of coming back and checking these. There's a few of them around. Here's one. You know, the deer are pretty well tuned into where these are also, either by smell or by sight or memory. But I've been checking these pretty much daily. There's one. And so far, I think I've got all the spears coming out. Now this bur oak, I don't think will be too worse for the wear if it frosts. Look at the corky, cool bark on this. It's so awesome. I love it. So let's go over now the false indigo. This stuff hasn't really started leafing out yet, so that's something that can get frosted for sure. The late frost, not too worried about those anyway because they're pretty tough. But the persimmons over here, I really need to do a better job of flagging which ones are grafted and which of the grafted ones are still alive. Like here's a graft that I did a couple of years ago maybe, but I don't think the top part of it's still alive. It sort of set up this new shoot. It had a really distinctive bent trunk. It's too bad that didn't survive. Would have been interesting to see what that does and what it looks like in 5 or 10 or 20 years. So you can see my big bed of wood chips I put down back here. That'll maybe help insulate the ground a bit. I don't know if it's gonna radiate any heat up. And I did come back and sow pretty heavily what I thought were white clover seeds, but they're pretty old. Maybe none of them were viable. None of them seem to be germinating, so that's kind of a bummer. I'll probably try again. So this is a persimmon that's grafted right there, maybe 2-3 years ago. And I think I did the scratch test on this, and I think it's still alive, but it doesn't look great. So that's one that may be a candidate for maybe have some winter dieback here. You can kind of see it's darker here. I don't want to mess with it too much, but anyway, it could have died back some. But as long as part of it is alive, that'd be great. So that one's definitely grafted. There's a lot of, you know, medium-sized candidates. Like this one is not grafted yet, but it could be. You know, I could even graft it up here. That way I maybe get to sample whatever its fruit is if I know if it's male or female. I'm probably not bearing quite yet at that size, but within the next couple of years, hopefully. This one here is not grafted. Anyway, there are a few grafted ones around, and hopefully some of those survive the winter. A lot of candidates for grafting. This one is grafted. This is a Dennis Straley Sweet Seedy Surprise, which is a small fruited type, but apparently has a nice sweet caramel flavor. And then a couple other ones I grafted back here, and you know, praying are still alive. This one, hard to tell, maybe. Anyway, I've got some notes somewhere about what's what, but anyway, the persimmons are not far along, so hopefully if they do get zapped, it's not the end of the world. You know, if they had leaves that were the size of a squirrel's ear or bigger, that would be more of an impact. Looks like the Japanese walnuts are not really leafing out yet. That's good. Don't really want them to, because they're definitely candidates for late frost problems in past years. And we'll do a little quick check of these pawpaws over here. I think these pawpaws had a few potential flower buds that I could see. They look different than the other buds. So yeah, there's a couple of flower buds on that one. And this tree is about 10 feet tall, maybe give or take a foot or two. And I'm not seeing a hell of a lot of flower buds. That could be from age, or well, there's maybe a few more, but not too many. But this is about the size they seem to start flowering and or fruiting. You know, they'll flower maybe for a couple of years and not set fruit. Now this one is smaller, but it's got quite a few more of those round flower buds than that previous one. So it could be just genetics. But again, this is a perfect size target for the ambrosia beetles. So that's something I want to protect for. Even this one here is about 6 feet tall, 7 feet tall, and it's got a couple little potential flower buds, so it's exciting. I wouldn't expect fruit to set and stay for a tree that small, but it's always nice to see those first few flower buds. And you can see all the litter, debris, woody matter that I've brought in here over the last few years. And over time, that's going to sink into the ground and rot down and really help, you know, move this toward a woodland soil as opposed to a grassland, bacterially dominated soil, shifted over to a fungally dominated soil. And last thing, you can see some big truck drove through here when it was wet about the time of my last video, and put some ruts in the ground here and some compaction. So that's maybe a dually. Hopefully it belonged to the power company, not just some idiot. Nanking cherry, seeing some dieback. The ones at my house have the same kind of weird dieback. It must be like a fungal disease or some problem like that, but I think I'll probably cut this whole thing down or it'll just die on its own. There is a grapevine growing on it, but there's other things planted in the hedgerow that will kind of fill in around it. So anyway, that's the quick look at what things are looking like at this moment in time. May 1st, happy May Day. Might be a May Day distress signal here, depending on how cold things get tonight, but not much I can do about that. So we'll just go with it and see what happens. So thanks for watching, and you'll see part 2 here in a minute. Thanks, bye. Hello, it's the evening of June 1st, 2026, and I have not walked through my garden and videoed it in a month. So I'm going to do another relatively short video, and I probably will post the May 1st video and this video together, because at that time we were going to have a frost, and we've had several frosts in the meantime, and I kind of meant to do a follow-up video of that one, and I never really have gotten around to it. So anyway, I'm just going to touch on a little bit of what's going on in the last month. Had a fairly wet, nice spring, cool spring, and now it's been kind of warm and dry for the last couple of weeks. What I'm showing here is my surfaceberry crop, and these all have problems. Like every single fruit looks bad. They've got bug issues, some kind of rust or something. The leaves don't look bad, so I don't think it's cedar apple rust. But you know, there's a million berries on this tree. This tree is 16 years old. There's 16 years in the ground, but doesn't look good. So I don't think I'm going to be eating any of those. Maybe just a handful. The bird's going to have those kind of nasty looking things. And the birds have been visiting these trees for the last 2 weeks almost, eating unripe or half ripe berries. There's a robin right there. Another oddity, wild kingdom type thing to show is these aphids, red aphid type things on cup plant. And it's kind of grotesque, but I think cup plants are pretty tough, and you know, they're not going to kill these things off. They probably will set them back a little bit, but I'm not worried about it. We have been harvesting and eating a little bit of the cup plant shoots, like say the tender top couple of leaf nodes on these things, and sauteing them, and they're okay as a vegetable. It's not amazing, but they're edible. This gummy bush, like I say, since the May 1st video, we've probably had 4 frosts, and the last one was maybe 10 days ago, a week or 10 days ago. So not super hard killing frosts, but frosts nonetheless. And so not much of a fruit crop on a lot of things. The gumi here, this nice size gumi, it's about 6 or 7 feet tall and maybe 8 or 9 feet wide. That looks like it might have a couple dozen fruits on it this whole year. This Nanking, no, that's not a Nanking cherry, that's a quince, showing some kind of a dieback. Hopefully it's not fire blight. It was a cold winter here, and we had some winter injury on a lot of things. So between the harsh winter and the multiple frost setbacks and the deer pressure, it's not looking like a real banner year for a lot of things. This hazelnut finally got a cage. The deer are really eating everything that they never used to eat, so it's almost impossible to grow anything here without caging it. And by way of example, milkweed, common milkweed, which I've loved and I've always tried to encourage, and I've scattered the seeds around for years and years. The deer eat that, so I can't have milkweed anymore in this garden unless I were to cage it. And let's see what's to look at here. These pawpaw trees here have been set back several times by frost. And this one, this is a cultivar. I think it's Shenandoah or Susquehanna, one of the two. It had a few flowers this year. I wouldn't count on there being fruit because of the sort of weird season it's been. And none of the other pawpaws in this area, there's that one, maybe another one or two little ones. Those maybe weren't flowering so much this year, so I would be surprised if this cultivar had fruit yet this year. Now this Illinois everbearing mulberry, this kind of half-naked stem stick thing here, this looks rough. I'm hoping this whole graft doesn't die back. I've got some okay looking leaves down here, but yeah, a lot of this stuff just sort of wanted to leaf out and then never really did, so I don't know what's going on with it. The deer haven't been chewing off the growth on that, but I think it's the frost or the cold or something kind of really did a number on it. So my paths here, which were nice a couple of years ago, you know, these wood chip paths don't last forever, and these are starting to get grown in with weeds, you know, monarda and sheep sorrel and whatever else, you know, grass things that creep in, vetch. So maybe in a year or two I will redo the paths, but it's probably not going to happen this year. Have a lot of other stuff going on in life that can't get to that. I did mulch some trees to keep them alive, which is more important to me. The yellow flowers there, golden Alexanders, they're one of the early prairie type things. This gumi looks like it has little to no fruit, which it never does. There's a currant that doesn't look too hot. This peach tree, probably no fruit on any of the peaches this year. This apple tree in the cage is sort of limping along. I was really pleasantly surprised that it seems like a lot of my persimmon grafts did make it through the winter, which I was not expecting. So that double trunked thing right there is a graft of persimmon that hopefully will heal together maybe this year. You can see how the deer are eating this hazelnut here. I never had problems with hazelnuts before, but in the last 5 years or so, it's been a huge problem with deer. These irises, it's kind of getting near the end of iris season. Collected some different ones and enjoy seeing those around the garden and smelling a few of them that have a scent. Some rugosa rose here, just about to come into flower. Again, the deer cage. These ornamental quinces have a very long blooming season. This one's been blooming for a month or 6 weeks probably. So apologies for the time of day that this is. It's not ideal maybe for shooting, but it's kind of doing it when I can do it. Oh, this cultivar autumn olive here, amber, looks like it's 90% dead. I don't know what happened. If it's just some kind of a decline, fungus, I don't know what the problem is with this, but most of the bush is dead. There's like one branch over here that looks like it's sort of still alive. But these started leafing out, you know, in maybe the flowering time, and then something happened. I don't know if it's frost or some other problem. Here you'll see I've built these goofy looking cage enclosures around certain asparagus that are coming up. And we've harvested these asparagus a few times, but the deer really have a taste for asparagus, so trying to protect the terminal growth from the deer. In this area, not a lot to brag about. Nothing major going on here. Really need to get some serious cages on some of these like cultivar type hazelnuts that I've bought and other things that I'm having problems with deer on. The pear tree, yeah, it's alive. There's some little dead tip there, but I don't think there's going to be much of a pear crop, if any, this year. No surprises there. Here's another asparagus enclosure. I was kind of bummed because a lot of the gummies I grafted 2 or 3 years ago, there's one. Those had flowers this season, and I was kind of looking forward to maybe trying some of those fruits this year, because a couple of them are new types that I've never grown or tasted before. But I don't know with the weird weather if I'm going to get to taste those fruits. So here again, a couple more asparagus things. Tomato cage with some stuff woven in. And as we go over toward the apples here, not a big crop on the apples. There's a few, not a total loss on them, but the ones that are there don't look very good. They're kind of buggy and small. Well, of course they're small this time of year, but anyway. Very little going on in my nursery here. I'm not really growing or propagating much of anything this year. Nice bird song going on. Here's some old plants in this bed that need to be dug out, and there's a few American plums and elderberries mainly, and Amorpha fruticosa here. Now here's a big project that is new in the last few weeks. This is a enclosure. I finally put a cage around this garden. This used to be a nice vegetable garden at one time. I'm going to zoom through the fence here and zoom out. This 15 years ago, this was a nice vegetable garden with no grass, no weeds. Over time, it kind of got neglected and got taken over by grasses and things. I planted asparagus in there, but the deer killed that off, except for 2 plants out of about 20. I did try to sort of transition over to perennials over time, and that's sort of worked. So you'll see there are some honeyberries. Pardon this crude door. I'm gonna finish the door maybe in the next few days. But I've got some currants and a bunch of honeyberries. There's some elderberry cuttings, willows. And I'm gonna make this more of a repository of things that deer eat. I had to move a lot of that stuff over to my other garden next door, my fenced vegetable gardens. But now I've got this garden as sort of a second place to keep that stuff in the backup. So here we're looking at the Chinese tune tree, and this thing totally died to the ground this winter. It was probably 12 feet tall before, but every single above ground stem seems to have died in the winter we had. It got down to at least -20 here. So that I'm glad that the roots are still alive. That's all I can say. I mean, it's a bummer to lose all the top growth, but anyway, we'll just kind of look at this fence real quick here. They're just 4x4 posts with the 7 or 7.5 foot deer netting. I don't know what it's called, 10X or something, T-Nex. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's not real stout stuff. I mean, it keeps deer out, but I use this in my veg garden next door, and after a time, see, I've got milkweed coming up in here. Hopefully the deer won't get that. After a time, I just started noticing a bunch of damage to my plants in there, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And it was that Japanese iris. Groundhogs and rabbits had chewed holes through the bottom of the fence, and they were getting in and eating all my stuff. So the weird alien looking growth of indigo, I think this is maybe wild white indigo. It's either the white one or the purplish one. I don't think it's the cream colored one. There's a black cat and a gray cat that I don't know who the hell those belong to. There's a lot of cats around here, so sorry for the local bird population. They're not my cats. Well, that skinny one is Brenda's, so I don't know. There they go. So I've not done any mowing here, not in the main back 40 here, which is what we're getting into right now. So you'll see, even though I haven't mowed, there's not a lot of rampancy of growth. Most of this grass stuff is knee-high or less. So you can kind of tell the rampancy of the site is pretty poor. You know, if we have an exceptionally wet year, you'll get some pretty good growth on some of these annoying grasses that I have, but overall, I don't get, big tall weeds. So, you could almost skip a year of mowing and kind of get away with it, except for the sumacs and things working their way out over time. My water hole here, no water visible. Earlier in the year, that was up maybe a foot or 18 inches below the ground level. And you can see I've still got some trunk guards on chestnuts. Now I was taking some of those off recently and I saw what I thought were ambrosia beetle damage. So that's a bummer if that's what that is. It doesn't surprise me. Nothing surprises me in this garden. But here, I think this whole trunk here is dead, so that's going to get cut out. Looks like it was a victim of a buck rub a few years ago, and it's got a little resprouting. Anyway, it's got 3 trunks, only need 1. So this is the perfect diameter for ambrosia beetles. They love that particular size of a tree. The other main trunks on this one look okay, but I definitely have some that look like they had ambrosia beetle problems. This 9-bark looks really gangly and weird. I think the deer maybe have defoliated most of the lower branches. So you've got a little bit on the upper part that's maybe out of their reach. That looked pretty good a couple years ago. I don't know, maybe it's just in decline. Maybe it doesn't like this spot. So over here, this Illinois everbearing mulberry graft looks better than the one we saw a few minutes ago. It's got, you know, leaves all over it, and it's got a lot of little flower structures. So those will be fruits, you know, if the good Lord's willing and the creek don't rise. And I've only ever had a very small handful of fruits off of this cultivar in my garden. Well, anywhere. So optimistic, hopefully optimistic that I'll get to have a few of those this year. This big chestnut looks good still. It's always been my best one, growing pretty nicely. Not much to report there. Let's see what I want to walk. Some weird regrowth on this wild black cherry that was sort of coppiced a couple of years ago. Looks like maybe the deer are hitting that. That's fine, they can have that. Here, got a chinkapin chestnut. This chinkapin, it's got like maybe almost half the tree is dead from blight. You can see there's big time blight on this side. That doesn't look good. But the brambles are flowering. You can sort of see the little white drift of stuff over there. Those are dewberries. And the wild blackberries and raspberries. A lot of those are blooming now too. Pecans are just sort of starting to leaf out. This chestnut is leafing out late, so this might have some problems. Or it's just a late bloomer. I mentioned my persimmons. They were a little late to leaf out, but I'm really glad to see that a lot of them are still leafing out. So this one was done a couple of years ago, and there's one there, and there's a little one farther down. So those all look okay, which is very encouraging, because I was expecting this, after this tough winter, I was going to lose a lot of those grafts, because they say the first couple of years is, you know, tough on new grafts. So I'm not gonna dawdle through here too much. The pawpaws over there, there were a few flowers on a few of those, which is cool. Again, I'd be a little surprised if I have fruit, but if I do, that'll be nice. Down this way, I don't think there's much to show down there. The sumacs are pretty late to leaf out. This Japanese walnut, you know, I wonder if it's frost damage or if it was winter dieback. But you can see some of the ends of the branches are kind of dead looking, so we'll see what happens. Here is a Gumi onto autumn olive graft. Great grower. Have a lot of sign material maybe from this one next year if I prune it in the wintertime. But again, I'm not seeing any fruit on there, or very few if there is any. So that's a drag. There's an autumn olive I flagged as a potential graftable one. Yeah, you see some ragged looking leaves on a lot of things. This walnut's leafed out pretty nicely. This autumn olive's in some kind of major decline. There's a serviceberry hiding back there. I think I planted that. Kind of sheltered between the autumn olives. Now this Japanese walnut, pretty late leafer, which is good actually at this site, if that's its natural, you know, habit. Interesting defoliating bark there. Hopefully that's not a problem. Attractive young growth. But yeah, the things that leaf out later, you know, it's good actually if things at my site kind of self-select for late leafing and flowering, because I'm always going to have late frosts here. That's sort of one of the limiting factors at the site, besides shit soil and drought. Lots of late frost and early frost in fall. This apple we grafted 4 or 5 years ago is looking good. I don't see any fruitlets on that. I was kind of hoping maybe this year would be the year for that too, but I'll take still alive. Over here, got some real weird growth on this white pine. I think it was the terminal stem probably got injured by a bug or something. Looks like it's got double stems and then problems on top of problems. So who knows? There's so many things that can injure and harm trees and plants that it could be a lot of things. This weird thing is flowering. I can't remember. I need to work on my plant labels. It does have a little bit of a nice smell. This is an oikos thing. I have to look at my map. I don't want to say the wrong thing or the totally wrong plant family, but it's pretty neat. That oak burrow looks pretty good. Probably will take these tree wraps off here soon. I did add a bunch of mulch to these things back here because I don't get back here much to do anything with them, and I knew that they would be suffering. So I'm going to just kind of quickly walk over here to the persimmon area and see what's still alive. Need to start grafting soon. Have not really grafted anything this year at my garden. Did a little grafting for a friend at his garden. Oh, holy shit. That's a surprise. This graft, which does not look good, it's just kind of barely tacked on there. It does have some leaf out. That's amazing. Cool. This one here is leafed out pretty well, but look at this trunk. I can't believe it's even still alive. It's got, it's not southwest injury, it's like southeast injury. So I don't know what caused that, if it was animal problem. Could be a deer rub, maybe. It's a little bit of a small trunk for a deer rub, but it's got problems going all the way up, so not sure. This was a graft back here that I was concerned about because this was a good grower. It doesn't look too hot. It does have some signs of life, but it's not like going gangbusters. So hopefully this one will recover. That might be proc. I have to look at need to make some damn labels. Sorry, I keep saying that. My wood chips I put down, the damn dewberries are coming through in force, so that's kind of a bummer. But the persimmons, yeah, they're just kind of, they leaf out a little later, which is good. That's a good crop for me. They won't flower yet for a while, but there's a lot of grafting candidates. You know, this one could be a candidate. That's actually on the bigger side for grafting. This is a different species of serviceberry, I think, than most of the ones I have. But you can see it's got some, the fruit looks like crap on this too. So, yeah, not a serviceberry year. Now, the Amorpha fruticosa here, these are not quite flowering yet. Maybe within the next week they will be, but at my house, which is a mile away, they're in full flower right now. So I think it's the frost setbacks and the microclimate has an effect. So 9 barks are blooming, as you may have noticed. That's one of the few things kind of in flower at the moment that I have planted out in any quantity. This graft is still alive. That's Dennis's thing. And this one did have fruit a couple times, so once at least. It's a female. So yeah, we'll be anxious to see which persimmons are male and female, because that's still a big unknown on probably 80% or more of the ones I've planted. But that's how things are looking now, and I'll probably wrap this up, post the 2 videos together, and you can see the difference of a month apart. But yeah, I've not been doing much. I've been working on other projects, working on my vegetable garden next door, worked on that fence project for a while. The house project, we did some traveling, etc., etc. So yeah, it's not real hopeful about this growing season, but I guess I'll just take whatever comes. That's all I can do. I got a brush scythe recently, so I'm gonna maybe try mowing down some of this thicker stuff that's like finger diameter sumac. see if it'll do that or not. I should have done it before all the stuff leafed out. The what do they call that, downy sunflower, and I think the sunchokes are all exterminated back here, but there used to be some sunchokes back here. Yeah, a lot of these knifebark look really funky and sort of half dead, but the bees do like the flowers. This autumn olive died. I think that had a good fruit crop last year, but look, it's got the same kind of decline thing that the amber had up front. So there must be something that goes around and takes the autumn olives out. Like I've said a few times, they don't seem to be a terribly long-lived plant as individuals. They seem to, and speaking of that, neither do Nanking cherries. So I think that's all I'm gonna have to say for today. Thanks for watching, and hope your gardens are doing better than mine. You know, mine's still here, it's still going, even without much intervention. It's kind of chugging along, but you know, it could be better, but it could be worse too. So with that said, take care and have a good one. Bye.